Hey there everyone, Audrey Ziegler here. How are you? I hope that you're having a fantastic day. First things first, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe. Make sure you get all the good things here. I share all kinds of fantastic content when it comes to gardening and homeschooling and wellness and taking care of yourself and so much more. So today we're going to chat about gardening. So 6 gardening methods that you definitely want to try out, but also we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of each of those and kind of how we utilize them in our home and how I'm so thankful to just dive in and learn more things when it comes to gardening. So gardening is supposed to be super fun and enjoyable, and most of the time it is, but trying out and figuring out what method works for you and for where you live can be challenging, right? So learning more about the specific methods and how they work can really help minimize that time of figuring out how to grow things and really quickly turn that brown thumb into a green thumb. So one of the first methods we're going to talk about is the Back to Eden method. This is a method that utilizes wood chips kind of around an in-ground bed and really helps keep moisture into the soil. It's a natural method because it really goes back to making sure that the soil has all the things it needs, but it's not overly worked. So you probably are going to follow along with a no-till method and all of those things as well. It helps not till up all of those grass seeds and weed seeds too. So it's a fantastic method when it comes to that. Some cons though of Back to Eden method is it can, because you utilize wood chips, those wood chips can actually take some nitrogen away from the soil because while they're breaking down, that's what they're using. So it can help in so many different areas, but it also can take away in other areas at the same time. We do use the Back to Eden method somewhat in our garden. I did till in the beginning, but I do not till now. I just add all good stuff on top of it, and it really helps kind of keep that micro balance that you need in your garden. So it's a good method for that. A next method is a raised bed gardening method. This is great if you have a smaller yard where you want to be able to put lots of things in. A raised bed method can be really helpful. You're literally putting all of your good soil on top of your existing, so you can help use weed cloth and those kind of things too, so help mitigate all of the weeds. So that could be less weeding, which is definitely a pro of raised bed gardening, and that can be really helpful when it comes to that. One of the cons, though, is cost. Unless you have a lot of free wood around your house or free things that you can kind of line your beds with, you're going to have to go purchase those things. So it's a one-time investment, really, to kind of set that stuff up. So once you have it set up, then you're good to go when it comes to that. So the third method is the core method. The core method actually utilizes a wicking system. So what you end up doing, whether you're doing a raised bed or an in-ground system, is you actually end up digging a whole line within that bed, and you will put either grass clippings that are moistened, really decomposed straw, or large grasses, and you're going to be able to put that in the bed and use that as like a core, so underneath all of your plants. Then you're going to put good soil on top of that core that you've created with those decomposing things, and you're going to use a wicking system. The core method actually wicks about 2 feet out, so 2 feet this way and 2 feet that way. So in like a 4-foot wide bed, you would just use one core to be able to put in there. Now, the pros of this, it's pretty inexpensive. If you have, decomposing leaves, deciduous trees that shed their leaves and stuff in the fall, you can gather those up, make sure they get moistened and they're really decomposed. You can put that in there. Straw is a great one. It's inexpensive. You're going to want to make sure that it's really decomposed, because if it gets not too decomposed, it's back to that nitrogen, right? So you want to put it in underneath there, and you're going to put good soil over top of it. All those microbes are going to love that environment of all the decomposing, so it's going to help with your roots of your plant. Also, because it's a wicking system, it's going to help keep in some moisture into your soil. So if you have soil that leaches water really quick and doesn't hang on to moisture, the core method is a fantastic method to be able to utilize that way. The fourth method is a container gardening. Container gardening is great for people who don't have a lot of space. Whether you are growing on a patio, you're growing on a balcony, if you just have a smaller yard, container gardening can be a fantastic tool to be able to use, especially if you can't grow certain things because of your climate or something like that. Putting in a container is always a fantastic option. Container gardening can be really great because of those benefits, but it can also have some cons to it. It can take more water because things in containers actually end up needing more water. They dry out a lot faster, so you have to water them a lot more. If you are in a warm climate like I am, you have to make sure you put those guys in some shade because they can get too hot and dry out and literally brown up in a few days. So container gardening, you definitely have to pay attention where your shade is at and how much sun they're getting and all those kind of things. But in small spaces, container gardening is fantastic. The next method, the fifth method, is a straw bale method. This is similar to core gardening in that you're utilizing it as a wicking system, but you're literally planting your plants in straw bales. So you're taking your plants and putting them in there. Now, this is not just an average straw bale. You're actually needing to condition and prime your straw bales. So you're going to make sure they're nice and wet and decomposing, because that's how they're going to hold onto the moisture and how the plants are actually going to help get those microbes and those nutrients from it as well. There's some limitations in some plants that you can actually plant in this method as well, so that's one of the cons. Also, priming and conditioning those bale straws can be kind of costly in the beginning because it's a lot of water. But the great thing is that straw is really inexpensive. So you're able to find some, sometimes even free. After certain holidays, you're able to find some free. So there's some pros to that as well. The sixth method is aquaponics and hydroponics. So aquaponics is the process of growing plants using fish and their waste, and that helping the core, the roots and the things grow using that as the nutrients. There's pros to it for sure. You can grow lots of different things inside, right? Regardless of the area or the climate that you live in, you're kind of able to grow lots of different things. Some of the biggest cons, though, is cost. Aquaponics can be really expensive. Also can take a lot of space if you don't have a lot of space for all of the equipment that you need and all of that. That can be a big deterrent as well. Hydroponics is growing food with a nutrient solution. So you're not using fish and fish waste, you're using a nutrient solution. So this has the similar pros that you can literally grow stuff inside, outside. It's great because you can do it in different climates, especially if you're in a cold climate and you have a shorter growing season. Hydroponics can be fantastic to grow all kinds of fresh greens and those kind of things inside. But you do need some grow lights when it comes to that, and those grow lights can be expensive, especially if you're in a place that doesn't get a lot of sun in the winter. You're going to want to make sure you have some artificial light that you can help grow your plants that way too. Plus, in hydroponics, initially starting can be expensive because you're buying all of the equipment. You're putting that in first and foremost, investment in. But once you have that investment in, then, it can pay for itself pretty quickly. So there's lots of different things when it comes to that. Pros and cons. I utilize lots of different methods at our household. We use container gardening. We also do in-ground and core method and a back to Eden method. We also do a raised bed method as well. So there's lots of different things that you can be able to try. And depending on what you're wanting to grow and where you're growing, you can find different methods that work out best for you guys. So I hope you guys have learned something interesting today, and you can try out some different gardening methods. And let me know what methods you guys utilize in your growing area, and we can chat about that. So I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.